We're at the Evansville Wartime Museum today with George Meece. George, would you state your full name for us and tell us when you were born?
George Meece Jr., and I was born in Hatfield, Indiana on July the 25th, 1931.
Okay, and then tell us about your family and where you went to school.
My family moved from Hatfield to Richland to a farm. We farmed all the time, and went to school at Richland, grade school, Richland, Indiana, and went to high school at Richland and graduated in 1949.
Okay, and then after graduate, did you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, I got one brother that he's deceased. He lives from Huntingburg, Indiana. I got a sister, Diane, and she's living in Boonville.
Okay. So after you graduated from high school, what happened at that point?
After I graduated from high school, it was in 1949, and like I say, it was on the farm. My dad farmed, and it was just all we used to doing farm work. And my employment at that time was just working there on the farm with Dad, and I still continued there. And in 1951, I got married to Doris Jean Young at Grandview, and still stayed on the farm for income, and that was little. And about, I say this is in 51, Uncle Sam was following me. You know, there's enough people that was not retired, but enough people that was joining the service, and if enough joined, then they didn't draft you until they needed you. Well, I went that way almost a year. And they'd say, well, no, not next month because got enough to join. And it comes springtime, after we done got the harvest, or spring planting done. And I said, I'd like to take basic, doing good weather. So I just got a hold of my leader that was trying to get me into service, and told him, I said, I'm ready to go. He said, just put me in. So I volunteered, and they took me to get me into paperwork to get all that done, and I ended up going to Fort Raleigh, Kansas for basic training, and took basic training there for about, I think about 4 or 5 weeks, and that was about getting up into springtime, maybe summer. Then they said, we're going to send you to Fort Raleigh, Kansas do your training. And after the training, I volunteered for a school. I like to volunteer for stuff like that. So I volunteered for a leadership school from basic training. And that kept me in the States for another 4 or 5 weeks doing a leadership school. Then it was time for me to be shipped out. And if I hadn't went to leadership school, my basic crew went to Germany. And since I went to leadership school, they said, you're going to Korea. And I thought, oh man, that's not good. So that's where I was destined to go for. And so I got out of the leadership school, and I went home went home in December 1951. 52. And so I arrived home about the 15th or 20th of December. So I had to be in Seattle, Washington, to be shipped out on the 23rd of December. Can you believe that? Just 2 days before Christmas. So I went to Seattle by plane, troop plane. Got to Seattle and done all the stuff there that had to be done. And on the 23rd of December, they put me on a troop ship. I think it was A.H. Mann was the name of the ship. And went from there to Yokohama, Japan. And gosh, that was a rough trip. We ran into storms after storms, and it took us 20 days to get there. And I was sick 10 of the 20.
Oh, wow.
So it was just rough. And I told a lot of people, I said, if I weighed 115 pounds when I got out of service, out of that part of the service, and went to go overseas, 15-pound of me still in that ocean over there somewhere. That's just how sick I was. So we arrived in Yokohama about, I don't even remember the date, about January the 15th or 20th, somewhere in there. And we was all standing outside after we was being lined up after getting off the ship. And they called my name out. And I thought, what in the world are they doing that for? So I was to get out of that group and went to another place, and come to find out they was going to ship me to a field warming school in Japan. And again, I think my size kept me from going to war right then. They said, yeah, maybe you don't need to be in there. You know, so I got out of the Army and went into this field warming school that gave me a different kind of training rather than Army. So I went to the field warming school for about 3 weeks. And there, we learned to climb electric line poles and fix telephones. And we had a switchboard there. And we'd climb these electric poles that are about 50 foot high with climbers. And when you got to the top, you had to take one foot out and wrap it around a pole, and then you pulled up equipment to work on, you know. So, but we really didn't do the work, and we were just doing training to climb the pole. There's a lot of people get up that pole and they couldn't hang their own, they just slid down the pole, and you can imagine how many splinters they got in it. But that was a tough training school. But as I finished that, then I got on a boat and went to Korea, and the war was still going on. And I think the war started around Pusan, because I got on land at Pusan, and we got on a bus or a truck. It was a truck, just heading somewhere, I didn't know where. And we went to a big bridge, and we all had to get out because they didn't think that bridge would hold us up. So we had to get out, the truck passed the bridge. We got back on and kept on driving. We drove past the only city in Korea, went past it and went towards the 38th parallel. And we crossed the 38th parallel, and North Korea was right there. So our place that we was shipping out of, being shipped at, was 37th Engineers. And their job was to, as the war was going on, as maybe a bridge over a certain river, that they used a lot, they'd blow that bridge up, and then our company put bridges back with pontoons. And that's all they'd done, was just put bridges on pontoons. Myself, I don't know how come it'd be that way. They put me in Signal Corps. They had a mountain there about so big, and they cut a hole out in it. It's already fixed when I got there. And my job was inside that mountain, in a bunker inside that mountain. I was working on a switchboard and fixing telephone lines and things like that. And as that went on, if we had a wire outside, we'd have to be working on it. But remember, I climbed those poles in school to do that overseas in Korea. And I told one of the sergeants there, I said, I'm not climbing no dang pole. Put lines up there, we'll put the lines on the ground. And we did. I mean, you climb up that pole, you're a target.
Yeah.
So we done all right with putting them on there, and then I took care of the switchboard. And we done a lot of outside military work, just observance. And I had a buddy over there that stepped on a mine and blew him all to pieces. That's just part of the war. And the war was going on about 1.5 miles in front of us. And I don't know just how much of this you don't want to talk about, but the war went on, and And I got there probably at my point there at the engineer's place. Now sometime in April of '53, and the war was really fierce at that time. And we got word going on through the months. In July, we got word that the war was going to end. And on the 26th day of July, they said the war was going to win and it was going to end at 10 o'clock at night. But we were on right by the 38th parallel, just back of the line. We were in our foxholes with our M15s, just waiting for 10 o'clock to come. And sir, I tell you, you can't hardly believe what kind of fierce fighting was going on there. Bombings, airplane bombings, shootings. The sky was just absolutely lit up. You thought it was on fire. There was that much going on, and that's more than has ever went on since I've been here. I don't think they're just back there hiding, throwing it just for heck of it. But anyhow, when 10 o'clock came, it's just like turning off a flashlight.
Wow.
It ended that quick. The firing stopped, the war stopped, the fighting stopped. It was just silent. You didn't hardly know what to believe. And we stayed in our foxholes because we didn't know for what they may be coming around back,
Right.
you know. So anyhow, from that day forward, the war was over. And we had no more of that fighting or going on at all. The rest of my time there was just filled up doing things around there.
Mm-hmm. So then when did you leave Korea and where did you go from there?
Okay, I'm not exactly the date that we left. Boy, it's been 70 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But it must have been early in January, because we landed in, let's see, I get my story straight here. We landed in San Francisco, California, because I remember going under the Golden Gate Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And man, when we seen that, after 20 days coming back, we thought we was in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's 700 troops on that boat. And you always heard this cheering like a football game or something. It was just so happy to see the United States. So we went under the bridge and they interviewed us coming out, so I don't know what we had to do. But we stayed there for some time, and then they shipped us home. And normally they ship you home as a unit, you know. They didn't do that with us. We didn't have no celebration. We didn't have, most people, when they go away, get back, they arrive, there's a big celebration, a bunch of people there. It wasn't that way with us, I don't know why. And anyhow, we just shipped back individually. And I come back on a regular airplane. And when I arrived in Evansville, Indiana here, it was, I don't even know what date it was, but it was up into January, maybe February of 1953. And so then I arrived here at Evansville by train, and there was nobody here to meet me except my family to pick me up. And nobody knew us. Nobody knew I was ever coming back, and there's nothing said about it from there on. You know, felt like it was just forgot about it.
Yeah, sure.
So that's my main thing that I had when I was over there.
Yeah, well, it's too bad. It's
Well, it's, you know, we didn't go over for that.
yeah, no, you didn't. But it's unfortunate when you don't get recognized when you're coming home from that.
But there's a lot of different people in different situations in that Korean War, you know. And we all had different jobs to do, and we've done them. Probably it was a success.
Yeah.
I think we lost 36,000 people.
Yeah. Now, you were there in the winter time, and I've heard that the winter there was just brutal.
It was rough. I don't know if it's much worse in the U.S. It got down freezing about all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember skating on water on ice skates over there when it was in the winter time.
Mm-hmm.
But it was cold.
Yeah. Were you living in a tent?
We lived in tents, you know.
Yeah.
In Korea we had squad tent. and it was, helped 8 people. And we was in a bunk, just a troop, well, these are cots,
Yeah.
and had a little oil stove in the middle with a pipe coming out of it. And we slept and stayed in that tent winter long. And in that, it wasn't bad. We stayed pretty warm.
Okay. So when you got home and back with your family, tell us what you did after that.
Okay, after I got home, my dad and them was still farming. I really I didn't see a position for me in farming, so there's a business place there from Christian called the Spencer County Farm Bureau Co-op. And I went to the manager there, they hired me. And to make a long story short, I was just done what they needed there, and I was living in Rockport. And after I got that job, we moved to Christian. And I got that job with the Spencer County Co-op, and my son Tim was born there at Christian. And then as time went on, in 1954, that's when I went in, and I went working at just doing the odd work. Then they had an opening for the hatchery. So I took manager of the hatchery. I managed that for about 7 or 8 years. Then a management position for the building supply opened up. And I took that position. I was selling pole barns and things like that to farmers, whatever. And while I was doing that, my main pet job, you'll know about this. Are you familiar with the community center at Christian?
Yep.
Well, that first building, I was selling buildings, and had new people on that board. And I was selling buildings for the co-op. I said, I could plan that and sell that to you. So I drawed up the plans for it, and the stick by stick and everything it needed, service for the concrete, and all the electrical in the building and everything. And I made him a contract price, and you wouldn't believe it, that we sold that building for $70,000. And that was the community center for all the community in 4-H.
Yeah.
For all those years. And then they built a new one. But my job at the co-op, after I got a certain position after the building of the community center, I got manager, general and CEO of the co-op, general manager. And we had branches at Christian, Rockport, St. Minard, and I built a new branch at Richland, or I had one built. And so that was done, I don't know, about 1990 or something like that, 88 or something like that. And that made us better farmed all over the county to be able to reach the farmers. So that was one of my main things that I was involved in, is that community center, getting that all done. And the co-op was having a little financial trouble. We got all those kind of things fixed, and I retired from the co-op in 1992. Then, in 1992, I dug my feet around a little bit, and I took a job with a place there, you'll remember too, Rep Rockport, of the Council on Aging.
Yep.
Okay, so I went to work for them about 1980, and I worked there 10 years. No, I worked there 20 years. Yeah, 20 years I worked at the Pioneerville, at the Council on Aging. And we drove people to the doctors and hospitals and things like that. It's just another community activity, because I like working with community stuff. And I was on a lot of committees there. And so that kind of thing, I enjoyed doing that. And then I was also, one of the community activities I was involved in was the Spencer County Pioneer Village, Lincoln Pioneer Village.
Mhm.
So me and my sister Diana and the family, even the family's part of it, but we got on the board there. And so I'm on there now. So I've served about 15 years on that Lincoln Pioneer Village.
Cool.
And we have the village all placed up. You been there?
Yeah, great place.
It's just another place of Abraham Lincoln's days when he was there in Spencer County. And I'm gonna tell you one more story, and that is that one of them buildings out there is a building for a farm family by the name of Josiah Crawford. And that Josiah Crawford was my great grandma and grandpa.
Wow.
And they lived neighbors to Abraham Lincoln. So they knew Abraham like a book. And Abraham Lincoln worked for my grandpa. And Abraham just enjoyed helping Josiah Crawford and Elizabeth Crawford do things. And Abraham was a strong man.
Mm-hmm.
He done a lot of work. So he made my grandpa and grandpa a cabinet. And it's a nice cabinet, no nails in it at all. And Abraham Lincoln and his dad both worked on that cabinet. And it's in the museum there, bro.
I've seen it.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Well, that was my grandpa's
That's awesome.
cabinet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's some of the things that I've seen in my life. And I could tell you others, but that's basically what it is.
Awesome. Well, I always like to ask our veterans when we interview them if they have advice. You know, you've lived through a lot of things and a lot of experiences. Do you have advice you would give young people today about their futures in their life?
Well, I guess there's a lot of things out there. And I don't know whether there's a lot of difference between life today than it was back in the 1940s. And we got to realize that that's different, they're living in that environment.